Hello, I'm James Cridland, the radio futurologist, and every week or so I write a newsletter all about podcasting and that sort of thing. Every couple of weeks, I should probably say, because it's been a couple of weeks since I last wrote one. But anyway, this is from July the 11th, 2023, what the world's first podcaster would do with radio. Because it was podcasting's 20th birthday over the weekend, and for the Podcast Business Journal, I interviewed Christopher Lydon, who's the world's first podcaster. And our conversation got onto radio. And, well, here's a clip of that interview. Has podcasting changed the way you thought it would 20 years on?
Well, I'd say, yeah, it's bigger. It is more commercial. It's not monopolized. You cannot monopolize human voice, and it's still growing. I mean, this is a very fluid world of media, but I think if the Martian landed and said, take me to your real voices to get the pulse of this nation, I'd say try the podcasts.
Arguably, that's what radio was for, and of course you have a tremendous radio background as well. Where do you think radio is going?
That's a very good question, and a dark sort of question. I think podcasting is a terrible burden on radio, public broadcasting and otherwise. I note that Vermont Public Radio has dropped the radio. It's now Vermont Public. WGBH dropped the W, as if to say we're not a broadcast station anymore, we're some sort of other service. I think they're selling the peculiar brilliance of radio short. It's cheap. Anybody can listen on a very cheap instrument, whether you're out farming or doing the dishes. It carries the human voice. I think radio has stopped believing in the higher calling of radio itself, and I think it's a damn shame.
Yeah, where do you think, if you were in charge of a radio station now, what would you be doing with that?
Well, I'd be doing a whole lot of things. I'd be doing a lot of podcasting. I'd ask Erica Heilman to teach the world how to listen, but also how to listen to regular people. Our podcast, I say with some chagrin, not exactly, but is public people who've written books or maybe won a Nobel Prize or hold a professorial chair somewhere and they're advocating something. I would do what Erica does so brilliantly, which is just get the voice of listeners. Jay Allison did great work on this from the beginning. Listener IDs, but let people talk until the dime drops or they cough up the secret.
Yeah. So getting lots more other people's voices on the air rather than just the silky voiced host.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Says you of the silky voice.
Well, yes,
and me too. They'll throw that at me too. But I've got an untrained voice. I sound like my brothers. We talk the way our parents taught us to talk. There's nothing trained about my voice, so we're going to keep it that way.
Oh, what a lovely man he was. Christopher Lydon, who is still podcasting today, the Open Source podcast. And the full interview is in the Pod News Weekly Review podcast this Friday. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts, is I believe the phrase. And now I wonder what you'd make of Alfred in the UK. David Lloyd has written plenty of details about it. It's the community radio station for Shaftesbury in Dorset that I've written a fair bit about already. Annoyingly, Ofcom has removed Alfred's license application from its website, which is a shame because it was a really good read, rather weirdly. Anyway, you'll find that linked from my newsletter at james.crid.land. And that's linked in the show notes today. As I speak to you today, the latest Australian radio figures are out, and I've written about the new research methodology Radio 360 last month. I noticed that ABC Radio Brisbane has become the #1 AM station in the city by Cume, which seems to me the right way to measure public service radio output. Interesting, though, to also see 4BH, the Golden Oldies station in Brisbane, doing so well. It's #1 in share for 55-plus adults. It's #5 in share overall. In its marketing, it's been heavily and perhaps uniquely promoting DAB+ as an available platform, alongside its poorly performing 1116 frequency or 1116 frequency. Anyway, I can't recall any other radio station mentioning DAB+ in this market. And for the record, DAB+ has more listening in this country than online does. And also that's true in the UK as well. I also linked to an interesting video from the US explaining why every radio station sounds the same. It's a quick canter through the ownership law changes of the Reagan era, and then how TikTok is setting the playlists these days. There are some important caveats near the end, though, and there's a lot of "you turn me on like a light switch." Meanwhile, in Sydney, and certainly not with the same production work as the YouTube video I've just mentioned, two men wearing anoraks actually have a light switch, and they wonder whether ABC Radio Sydney's AM transmitter can turn it on. The good folks at Futuri Media are now pointing their AI guns on the people who make the commercials with a new product called Spot On. Daniel Anstandig is quoted in the article talking about using it for spec spots to get a client interested, and if you're just going to use it for that, then that's fine. Just use it for that. Just for spec spots. Nothing else. Okay? Good. Also on Twitter, if you remember that, Denis Florent, who's radio consultant to the stars, he posted a video of NRJ doing something, clever in French, no idea what it's about, but it's worthwhile taking a look at the video because, my goodness, the view in the studio itself is the biggest, most ridiculously over-engineered music radio studio you have ever seen, unless, of course, you know different. And I'd love to see it if you do know different. Definitely take a peek. You'll find that linked from my newsletter. Also on Twitter, assuming that you can still see anything on it, for some reason, Kiss FM UK's Tatum McGreal has decided that at a Pink concert, she'll jock up the intro and hit the post to some of the songs that Pink is singing, which is very strange. She gets additional marks for the favourite biscuit reference, which I was quite a fan of. And while we're on the subject, 4BC has a new temporary afternoon host, the disgraced plagiarist and former Murdoch journalist, don't know which of those is worse, Peter Gleeson. And imagine my joy to be listening in 30 minutes into day 2 to hear this important phone-in topic.
Biscuit lovers, here we go. Arnott's have come out and said whether you enjoy them with a cup of tea or coffee as a morning snack, they've basically said, here are the classics, and they've recently introduced obsession biscuits ranging from mint chocolate, salted caramel, milk and dark chocolate. I want to know your favourite Arnott's biscuit.
Wow, 2 pieces about biscuit news. So how about the subtitle of a piece in T3 to complete the trilogy of lazy radio tropes? Spotify plans video upgrades that could change the way you use its app is the headline. The subheadline, video killed the radio star, but what about streaming? Now, thank you to Broadcast Radio for becoming my latest supporter. The company writes, we've known James for far too many years, but we've been avid fans all the way. Here's to hearing him talk more about the industry we love and a mutual disdain for lazy Buggles headlines. Yes, I've actually found a listener to this podcast rather than a reader of the newsletter, but I'm grateful to you. Thank you so much. Broadcast Radio makes the popular radio playout system Myriad, which is also in the cloud, as well as tools and software for all kinds of things in radio as well. You can go and visit their website at the rather excellent URL of allthews.broadcastradio.com. All the W's, just my little thing to Russ Williams there. All the W's. .broadcastradio.com. And thank you so much. That's super kind of you. Thank you to Clyde Broadcast, Richard Hilton, James Masterton, Brun Audio Consulting, Soma FM, and Media Realms radio websites for being supporters as well. If you would like to support my work in any way, you can buy me a coffee as well. You can become a member to give regularly if you like, or just give a one-off coffee or 5. Do that at buymeacoffee.com/James Cridland. Please do follow me on Mastodon as well. I'm James at bne.social there. You can also find me in Threads in T2. I'm still on Twitter. I don't really use that. I'm also on Blue Sky, don't really use that either. Anyway, my professional website has more details about who I am and what I do and whether I can help you further. You'll find that at james.cridland.net. No, james.crid.land. No, professional website is james.cridland.net. That's right. How confusing. James.cridland.net. Yes, that's the one you want. And if you want more of this unprofessional nonsense, then I'll be back soon. In the meantime, keep listening.